April is the most aggressive month for Texas real estate, but drive through the outer rings of Dallas or Houston in spring 2026, and you won't hear a sounds of construction. You hear dead silence. Tens of thousands of skeletal wooden home frames sit abandoned, warping under the heavy spring rain. The builders have vanished. In the upscale hill country suburb of Liberty Hill, the epicenter of this collapse, developers are actively walking away from entire partially built subdivisions. They are firing their crews and leaving half-finished structures wrapped in plastic to rot in the sun. Data from Williamson County records reveals the scale of this paralysis. The local market is currently choking on a 24-month supply of homes. 2 full years of inventory sits completely stagnant, with no buyers in sight. The builders are making a cold mathematical calculation. They have run the numbers and determined it is strictly cheaper to forfeit their massive land deposits and let banks foreclose on the dirt than to spend another dollar trying to finish homes they cannot sell. This physical devastation stands in stark contrast to the preceding 5 years. The Texas Miracle was pitched as an engine of infinite growth, fueled by zero state income tax, access to cheap land, and a flood of corporate relocations that created a bidding frenzy. This is a systemic collapse, the sudden death of an over-leveraged housing machine that has finally run out of cash. To understand how the builders ran out of cash, you have to look at how they acquired the land. During the height of the boom from 2021 to 2023, corporate homebuilders borrowed billions of dollars to buy Texas dirt at absolute peak valuations. They underwrote these massive loans on a single flawed macroeconomic assumption that consumers would indefinitely possess the capital to absorb sprawling $600,000 suburban homes. That assumption broke when high interest rates became entrenched. The cost of borrowing severely restricted consumer purchasing power. Buyers evaporated, and active inventory in the Sunbelt rapidly ballooned. The earliest financial distress appeared in the balance sheets of industry giants like Lennar, where contracting profit margins signaled a broader industry retreat. To move their mounting shadow inventory, developers deployed desperate, margin-crushing incentives. They slashed asking prices by 20%, offered to pay all closing costs, and spent thousands per home to buy down mortgage rates. This model illustrates the tipping point. Even with these extreme incentives, the buyers simply did not return. You can see the revenue line plummeting vertically, a sales halt, while the horizontal line, the builder's fixed debt obligations, remains entirely static. The lines cross deep into the insolvency zone. This intersection is fatal. Holding massive debt obligations with zero incoming revenue eliminates the developer's liquidity, instantly triggering a wave of sudden Chapter 11 bankruptcy filings. The corporate strategy of debt-fueled infinite expansion guaranteed their ruin the moment the market cooled. They trapped themselves in an inescapable liquidity crisis. The liquidity crisis immediately transfers to the consumer. Across Texas, working-class families committed non-refundable deposits of $40,000 to $50,000 to secure their lots and begin construction on these homes. When the builder files for bankruptcy, the court utilizes a rigid legal hierarchy to determine who gets paid from the company's remaining assets. This pyramid shows exactly how claims are prioritized. At the very peak are the senior secured creditors. These are the Wall Street lenders and institutional backers who financed the builder's land acquisitions. By law, they are paid out first. Down here at the absolute bottom, highlighted in red, are the unsecured creditors. This is the legal classification assigned to every family who handed over a cash deposit for a home. The functional outcome of this structure is brutal. Because the builder's assets rarely cover the massive loans at the top, the family's deposit is legally liquidated and absorbed to help make the senior institutional lenders whole. The home buyer is left with nothing. They lose the house, and their life savings are wiped out to pay off the developer's debt, with zero legal recourse available to get it back. The legal architecture of a corporate bankruptcy functions exactly as designed. It actively protects institutional capital by consuming the savings of the middle class. The financial damage extends far beyond the buyers. Large corporate developers rarely build the homes themselves. They operate as logistics firms. They hire local Texas small businesses, the framers, electricians, and plumbers, to execute the physical construction. This creates a perilous cash flow trap for the tradesmen. These small businesses purchase lumber, pipe, and wire on credit, perform the grueling physical labor, and then submit an invoice to the builder, waiting 30 to 60 days for payment. When the corporate builder abruptly files for Chapter 11, all outbound payments freeze immediately. The local contractors are left holding millions of dollars in worthless invoices for work they have already completed. To survive, the subcontractors deploy their primary legal countermeasure, a mechanic's lien. This is a formal claim placed against the physical property itself to secure the unpaid compensation. The state enforces a strict deadline for this action. Under Chapter 53 of the Texas Property Code, subcontractors on non-residential or commercial scale projects must file the lien affidavit by the 15th day of the 4th month after the work is completed. Missing this window means forfeiting the right to claim the debt entirely. This chart tracks filings from the Williamson County Clerk's Office, revealing an explosive 200% spike in mechanics liens filed against new developments between 2024 and 2026. A single corporate bankruptcy acts as a contagion vector, instantly paralyzing the local blue-collar economy that actually built the infrastructure. The physical remnants of this financial collapse scar the landscape. The Lincoln Institute of Land Policy classifies these abandoned projects as zombie subdivisions or arrested developments. Look at this example. Fully paved, looping subdivision roads carving through empty land, servicing only 3 completed houses. For the few families who managed to move into the first phase, they are now trapped in a construction wasteland. As seen here, lonely spec houses sit next to empty dirt lots, surrounded by broken windows and weeds. This isolation triggers plunging property values and invites severe crime risks into the unfinished grid. The blight inevitably triggers a municipal crisis. In the town of Salina, north of Dallas, the city council approved over 15,000 new single-family housing permits, anticipating a population boom that vanished. To prepare for these phantom residents, cities like Salina and Manor issued massive municipal bonds. They borrowed millions to lay the essential water, sewer, and road infrastructure for developments that will never be occupied. This graph models the municipal trap. The top line represents mandatory bond debt payments, remaining high and flat. The bottom line tracks projected property tax revenue, plummeting drastically below the requirement as home values crash and lots sit empty. Without residents to pay the taxes, the unfunded infrastructure begins to physically decay. In border towns like Laredo, the local utility director openly admitted the city loses roughly 3 billion gallons of treated water annually, simply through rotting, unmaintained pipes in sparsely populated grids. This exact scenario of vacant lots, collapsing utility funding, and extreme oversupply is currently playing out across 10 major Texas suburbs simultaneously. The physical scale is staggering. One rotting wooden frame multiplies into entire neighborhoods of decay, carving a permanent grid of abandonment into the Texas prairie. The Texas miracle was built on a foundation of unchecked speculative greed. When the cheap debt dried up, the machine broke, leaving behind a permanent legacy of decaying ghost towns and financial ruin.